of spiritually constructive toil, to escape the darkness and enter the light, to leave his negative behavior behind and plunge into the reconstruction of his ideals. He stood up and left for the paternal home. However, prodigal sons and daughters of life, such as we are, how many of us, after having failed at the most valuable opportunities, clamor for the Lord to help us in accordance with our unworthy desires so that we can be content and happy? How many of us have willingly descended into the abyss and once in it, drowning in the dark current of our passions, beg for the presence of the Almighty through his messengers, so that they may attend to our whims? But if we are really committed to our self-improvement, let us stand on our own 2 feet and press forward. Any improvement requires effort. The view at the top requires climbing the mountain first. If we aspire to a higher life, let us go forward, following Jesus' standards. I will rise, said the young man in the parable. Yes, let us rise. Okay. The light, please. The light. Okay. Let's now close our eyes, rise our heart and our soul to meet our dear Jesus, our Master. Let's put our hearts together and humbly ask, Master Jesus, send us your light so we can reflect on today's date and all your teachings and how we can deal with our problems, our situations towards drug abuse. Help us to understand, to have the feeling of love with ourselves and everyone that is passing through this painful pathway. Dear Lord, that your light be with us and help us to understand, to touch deep inside our hearts so we can be better. We can rise up like the sun in the parable and go forward to you and be better and start working in our inner improvements as immortal spirits as we are. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, all the spirituality here that help us in our endeavors to be better people. Thank you for today and be with us. So be it. Say it. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here with us. Welcome to our second Cherishing Life workshop. On today's date, we are going to talk about drug abuse. That is a big issue nowadays in many, many places, in many countries. But we are going to talk specifically about Canada today. Okay? So we invite all that are here, those that are watching us through internet, incarnates and discarnates, to reflect on about this topic, about all the aspects that are part of this problem. We are going to have 6 talks today, and we are going to talk about different aspects of each problem. And from the bottom of our hearts, we invite everyone here to convey the feelings of love, compassion, and respect to those that are passing through this painful pathway. And not only to them, but to their family members as well. And okay, let's go to our agendas today. Let's see what we're going to have. There?
No. There we go.
Fix it.
Turn it on.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so our today's agenda, we're going to start with our the lecture that I'm going to convey to you, that is drug abuse versus consciousness. So just want to see my notes here, just a minute, please. So this topic, we're going to see what our role in order to be more conscious about our acts. What are you doing? And how we can be more conscious, be more aware about our behavior. At 11, we will welcome Victor. He will talk about Canadian opioids awareness. And this is a big issue nowadays, and it's on the news and everything. He will bring us some facts, numbers, and some very good understanding about this problem. Another 11:45, we will have our kids. They are going to perform a play. So I highly recommend, strongly recommend that everybody be here to see. It'll be very fun. And we're going to have our lunch as well. At 1 p.m., we will welcome Renata. So she will talk about alcohol addiction and social illness. So she's going to bring us some the two sides of the same coin. Like glamours that alcohol is treated in our society nowadays, and the consequences of the abuse of these beverages. At 1:45, we will have Renzo. Renzo will talk about cannabis legalization and divine law of justice. So he'll be comparing both laws, like the human law and the divine law of justice. How just is this legalization? At 2:30, we're going to have another break, so we can have some coffee and snacks and wake up, yeah. And at 2:45, we will have Guilherme. Hey, we're going to talk about families' role in addiction rehabilitation. So it's a very sensitive topic. It's very important to many family members that are passing through this situation. So hard. But at last but not least, we're going to have at 3:30 p.m. Anna. She's not here yet, but she'll be here soon. And she will show us that there is hope. There is always hope. And spiritual healing of drug addiction. So it'll be very important to know, because you're going to see all the causes and consequences. And she will close our ceremony with the hope that we need to have always, right? So at 4:15 p.m., we're going to have our closing ceremony. This will be our day today, and we invite everybody to stay with us. So without further ado, let's start with this epitaph of Allan Kardec's gravestones. To be born, to live, to die, to be born again, and always move forward. That is the law. When we read that, which kind of law that we have in mind when we think about that? Hi, Anna. Welcome.
First one that comes to mind is law of reincarnation.
Reincarnation, exactly. So we live in a cycle, right? And this epitaph is very important when we are talking about drug abuse, because we know that we're not going to be here just once, right? When we understand the immortality of life, when we understand that we are immortal spirits, at least we have a changing of view, or it's everything makes sense. We see that life is very special, has a huge meaning. It's very meaningful. So we have also understanding that life starts before the grave and goes beyond the grave. We will keep living. So it's very important to recall that we are immortal spirits, and that's what Spiritism brings to us. That's the message from Spiritism. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How we can see life and how we can see our struggles in life with this view. So I'm going to bring some reflections before to everybody, to me as well. So how do you feel yourself? Do you feel yourself a conscious person? And why do we need to be more conscious? Those are self-reflections, okay? So we just need to think about with ourselves. Do you feel that life is much more than this material reality? Have you ever reflected the benefits to live in a conscious society? How good it would be? So during all the day, we are invited to reflect on drug abuse and also to reflect how important it is to be conscious about this problem, about ourselves, about how we are dealing with this. Why do you think that is important? We need to talk about this, about to be a conscious person. Nowadays, we can see that our society is very superficial, is very materialist. And we are invited to know what we have and what we are. What is more important? To look like having or to be? So which kind of society we live? In a materialistic society. We don't go deep inside. We just live our lives as going to work, come back to home, dealing with our domestic problems, routine days, studying, working. But how about ourselves, deep inside? How about our essence? How about the deep, the questions that when we have everything in life and we feel that something is missing? How we deal with this feeling? And normally, what we feel when we live in a world or in one society that is basically materialist, we feel inner emptiness. We feel that something is missing. What is missing? Something is wrong with me. I don't know what I feel, but it's something that we need to think. But many people, because of this materialistic view of life, they don't know what they are feeling. They just feel. And they feel this restlessness. Something is not right. But they don't know how to call this feeling, just as feel. And this lack of something that they don't know what it is, they try to find something to replace, to put inside, to calm down. What normally people do in a materialistic world, they don't have the feeling or the understanding that is something more about our spiritual being. So they try to fill the emptiness.
Go shopping.
Go shopping. Go have a beer. Go have some travels.
Eat lots.
Eat lots. They try to.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Somehow we try to find something that is external, to feel something that is in ourselves. So we can really be satisfy our emptiness with something that is material. We go shopping, we spend, and then we come back to our bank account and it's a disaster, so we feel restlessness, and we start again. Oh my God, I need to calm down, so I need to go shopping again. And many people try to drugs to numb their consciousness, so they can forget. They cannot think about it. But they know that it's temporary. It's a temporary relief. It's something that you feel like that. You try to not think about it, but then this emptiness comes back again. Returns. And the person feels anxious, irritated, stressed, sad. And what they need to do? Maybe, most of them, maybe some people go to the doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist, try to search for help, spiritual help. But normally, there is a repetition of the process. That's how it starts. The inner emptiness and the repetition of the process. Because we didn't understand that this inner emptiness, this restless, cannot be filled with drugs, cannot be replaced by anything that is external. that anything that comes from outside is something that we need to give to ourselves. It's something that is inside us. We are able to, we and only we are able to look inside ourselves and figure out how to help ourselves. Something is missing. What is missing? What do I need to find in order to feel better without any external substances or acts?
May I make a comment?
Yes, please.
A lot of times this way to try to numb the consciousness, the person is actually unconscious of this. You don't necessarily think that, oh, I feel this emptiness, like consciously, and then I'm going to find something. But it's lacking something, and you just find a different way to kind of deal with that feeling.
Exactly.
And a lot of times we make excuses, like for whatever, right? For me, I would say, well, I eat because I like to eat, for example.
Mhm.
But if I go to the roots of that, there is something else that
You're trying
is
to.
making me look for refuge in that I don't want to see, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and because we are living in a society that most of people are unconscious, they think that life is just this material reality. They don't go deep inside. They don't reflect, meditate. So that's the point. Then, besides that, people that feel this inner emptiness, there are some people that have fear of life. What is this kind of people? People that have this feeling of unsafe. They feel that they are not. They have fear about everything. And what if I go to this place and something wrong happens? What if I go to school and somebody will hit me, or I need to deal with bullying? What if I don't do well in my job? So lots of fears. And the person wants to feel secure. And sometimes they go to these drugs so they can feel that busting, like, okay, now I feel brave, I feel that I am the most brave person here in this place, and I am gonna do everything that I need to do. And sometimes there are people that mainly this happening with mainly with young guys, young people, when they need to be accepted by a group. Okay, if I drink beer like those guys, I'll be accepted by them. If I smoke, okay, they are smoking, I can be accepted only if I smoke as well. So let me try. Let me go because I like them. I want to be part of the group. This is one of the reasons. Another is escape of life. Some people think that life is so hard, so complicated, so they have so much struggle in life. So they want to escape. They want feel that they are successful, they are intelligent, they are smart, they are going to that meeting and they are gonna do the best presentation. They are gonna be recognized as great person in life, successful, perfect, and everything. So they are trying to escape of this situation, taking drugs. I need to have a drink before I face this situation. I need to,
Relax.
Yes.
I come from work, I'm stressed. I need to drink to relax.
exactly. I need to calm down. So really, this is a very good way to calm down, because calm down, happiness, secure, all these feelings that people are seeking, that people are searching, are virtues. Drugs are able to give us, to create virtues in us. So that's that we need to think about. Again, the fear of life, the person that has a fear of life needs to feel safe. And the ones that escape of life, they are avoiding challenges in life. But Jesus gave us a very good tip about this, how we can deal with all this inner emptiness, with these feelings of anxiety, fear, and unsafe. I'm saying correctly, unsafe. So insecure, yeah, insecure. So I forgot something very important here. Any kind of addiction is a pathway that leads us to unhappiness. Because we think that we're going to reach happiness. They're going to be content, satisfied. But again, those are virtues. And virtues we can get from escaping, using drugs and everything. Jesus gave us a very good tip. You know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So, which kind of truth Jesus is talking here? So we have two truths. The universal truth, that are the divine laws. The divine laws are the laws created by God that will give us directions, guidance to reach our happiness. If we act accordingly with His laws, that's how we can find happiness. We can find universal truth where? We can find in Jesus' teachings, Spiritism, all those books bring us a summary of what Jesus taught us. And we have the second truth, that's our inner truth, who we are. Who are we? And what are we doing here? Or what do we need to do in order to find ourselves, to find out knowledge about ourselves? So who we are is something that maybe we need to reflect on a little bit more. Who are we? God's child. We are created by God. We are immortal spirits. We just are using this body because we need to express ourselves in this world. And this is a blessed opportunity to learn the love, how to love ourselves, how to love our neighbors, like Jesus teaches. And how we can find our inner truth, how we can develop our self-acknowledgement. So, Spiritism certainly can help with us. We have the Spirit's book, the first one here, that brings us, I have that too, that bring us questions and answers questions that Allan Kardec, our codified, that is this virtuous gentleman here, questions that he asked to the superior spirits, Jesus' auxiliaries. And they answered with some answers will guide us. Some know all the answers. Give us a very clarification about what we are doing here and what we are supposed to do and where we are going, where we come from and where we are going to. And can help us, certainly, to find answers to ourselves, how to know ourselves, and how to deal with our struggles in life. Besides the Spirit's book, we have all the codification, all the other literary books that goes from Genesis, Heaven and Hell, the Gospel of Spiritism, and the Medium's book. All of them are readings for those that want to know more about their selves, more about their feelings, more answers how to deal with life and so many questions that we are. A very good reading. It's a mandatory reading for those that really want to. Besides that, of course, always gospel with Jesus Christ. And in this book, the Spirit's book, we have this question that we always bring because it's a question that is very important to us to understand our pathway here, our process of evolving. Have some spirits been created good and others evil? That's on the question that Allan Kardec asked to the superior spirits. And the answer, the questions are short, but the answer is very, very clarified, very deeply. God has created all spirits simple and ignorant, without knowledge. God has given each of them a mission. So each of us, we have a mission, a different one. Each of us has a different mission. But it's aimed at enlightening them and progressively leading them towards perfection through knowledge of the truth. We have different mission because each of us are unique, are created by God as a unique person, as a unique individual. And our mission is enlighten ourselves and then gradually, progressively, we are going to get to the perfection through the knowledge of the truth in order to draw them near to God. And in that perfection, they will achieve pure internal happiness. Knowledge of the truth is the slide before that I showed you. The truth that we need to know, the universal truth that brings all the divine laws, the law of society, the law of fraternity, the law of love, the law of duty, the law of fraternity, and our inner truth that deals with who we are and how we are now. And knowing those divine laws and knowing ourselves, we are gonna slowly get to the perfection, get closer to God. And then we'll feel this peace of mind that we are in the right truth, we are in the right track. And we are going to feel this happiness. It's the only way that we can feel really the true happiness. There is another question, question 621, where Allan Kardec asks, where is God's law written? In the conscience. Each of us brings inside of us ship the divine laws. We are created with these divine laws in our conscious. So we know everything that we need to do in order to do better choices, to know what we need to choose between this and that, between go to shopping or try to be quiet and reflect and give us love and see what we are missing, what we have here that is asking us to do and we don't know. In our conscious. But sometimes it's hard to access, right? Sometimes it seems like very easy. Okay, it's in my conscious, so good. I'm good to go.
I have it.
Yeah.
Done.
Done. Okay, but how can I know how is the law of progress? How can I find that? How can I access that knowledge? Okay, we need to make some efforts, right? We need to study. We need to try to investigate those laws. But we have another tip. So here, it's a very good way to think about how we can act, how we can, what are our duty as immortal spirits. So we have here oaths. Okay, that's okay.
Spoiler.
So,
Wrong button.
yeah, immortal spirits, that's what we are, correct? We have the other side, the divine laws that are in our conscience. And here we have God. So how can we be better? How can we understand the immortal laws, the divine laws, and God? Surrender and action. We surrender ourselves to the divine laws in our conscience, and then we are being surrendered to God. But how we do this surrender? Acting. Feeling deep inside that we want to. We want to surrender ourselves to God through His divine laws that are in our conscience. So, the efforts that we make to develop healthy habits led us to our conscious duties and responsibilities in regards to life. So, when we surrender to God, when we surrender to the divine laws, we make efforts to do that. So, we are starting developing healthier habits. And these healthier habits will lead us to our conscious duties and responsibilities in regards to our lives and in regards to others' lives. So that is the invitation, making efforts to overcome our imperfections, our fears, our anxieties, all the feelings that keep us behind and doing wrong choices or bad choices for ourselves. We are damaging ourselves. We need to make efforts. It's important to make efforts that are patient, disciplined, perseverant. Is easier? No, it's not easy, but it's laborious. Actions. Can you imagine if you are, I am walking now, I can use my legs, I can get up of my bed and start walking, no problem. But tomorrow I have an accident and I cannot walk anymore. So how will it be for me to get up of my bed, to put my legs that are not moving anymore, and I need to keep moving, keep living. How can I do that? I need to make new efforts, restart, relearn, and trying again in a different way how to walk using wheels, using instrument, using my wheelchair. So that's the same thing for us. It's okay. We stay here. Okay, I'm not gonna make efforts. I am okay the way I am. But then the emptiness feeling, all that feelings will knock on my door because I'm not making efforts to try to give to myself the love that I need. So that's what means. Start today, a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow, and in short time, in one day, we are gonna be these healthier habits will be part of our days, will be part of our lives. But people can ask, how about those that are still living an unconscious life, that are still thinking that there's no immortality, there's anything like that.
We only live once.
We only live once. You need to enjoy life. So we that are aware already, we that are here trying to learn, we are more conscious. So we need only to be a good examples to them. Show them how good it is to be conscious, how good it is to develop healthier habits. In the question 6045, we have Allan Kardec bring another question that is very important to those that think that is so hard that it's impossible. When individuals are immersed in this atmosphere of vice or addiction, doesn't evil become an almost irresistible draw? Kardec was he had a very good intelligence about how to ask the right questions, because sometimes we think like that. Oh my God, this is irresistible. It's stronger than me. How often do we say that?
It's chemistry, right? My
Yeah.
body needs it.
Yes, like now it's my body. It's irresistible. Then the Spirit says, draw. Oh yes, irresistible. No, because in the middle of the atmosphere of vice or addiction, you may sometimes find great virtues. How many of us know people that have great virtues? They were smart people, they were workers, they were lovely, and then they are suddenly caught in this track, and now they are spending their lives just to use drugs. And how many do we know that were able to overcome, to restart, to stand up, to rise, like the prodigal son? Irresistible? No. It's hard. It is. It is. We cannot say that it's not. But we need to make efforts.
If I may make a comment,
Sure.
that's going to bring to the last presentation too.
Mm-hmm.
But there are different ways to help with this, what seems irresistible, but it's not. So sometimes a medical intervention will be needed.
Sure. Yeah.
Just the free will. If the person is so, is not lucid enough to make the choices, then it seems irresistible, like it seems like we can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are steps and ways that we can find with ourselves and look for external help. Sometimes it's needed.
Mm-hmm.
So detox is something that it is necessary in many cases.
Yeah.
So the other person can kind of spoil my
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I didn't wanna talk
whoever's
about
not here later, so
But
that's a little.
I'm so glad that you said that because I didn't want to spoil your presentation, but that's what we're gonna
Yeah.
talk later.
Yeah.
How to get the help necessary to resist, right? Because it's not only about I will do it. No, sometimes we need some help, and sometimes we need medical help.
Most
So-
of the time.
Most of the time, and that's what Anna will treat later.
We'll reflect about the possibilities.
Yes, there are many.
Each case is different and.
Yeah, because we saw in the beginning, we are, each of us has a mission. We are individuals. We are unique. So each of us have a different way to learn, right? And those who try to contain their passions understand their own spiritual nature. And to overcome them is a triumph of the spirit over matter. So those that understand that they are immortal spirit, the beginning of the presentation about that starts to born, to live, to die, to be born again, and the cycle keeps going. So those that understand that, for sure, will triumph of the spirit over the matter. That is, I guess, this is fundamental because sometimes people is caught in this process that why do I need to do that? Because this life you're gonna I'm gonna die, I'm gonna keep smoking, I'm gonna keep drinking because I'm gonna die like everybody else. Okay, but we are not gonna die because we can't die. This is just one life, one existence. It's just a picture of a move of our lives. We have all the eternity to learn. We don't need to be in a hurry. I need to do this right now. But we need to do every day a little bit. Every day a little bit. And we're gonna get there. We need to be love to ourselves. We need to have love, compassion, and respect to ourselves and to others that is passing through this situation. And as Paul the Apostle said to the Philippians in the 4th chapter, verse 13, I can do all this through him who gives me the strength. So, Anna will bring us many solutions, many options, many possibilities that we have to overcome, to learn, to resist to the addiction. But it's very important to return to ourselves, to close our eyes, to pray, to ask to our angel guardian, to ask to God, to Jesus, to make effort to go towards God and ask the strength that He's able to give to us. And last, this lecture was based on the Lídio Cerqueira Filho video classes, Spiritual Healing of Alcoholism, Smoking, and Drug Addiction. Joana de Angelis, Existential Conflicts book, Allan Kardec, Spirit's book, and the Gospel of Jesus Christ. Hopefully, I could be able to pass through how be conscious is important in order to overcome our struggles in life, and hopefully everybody had, got a good understanding about it. And if you have any questions, we have some time. We have 5 minutes. I'm on time.
Not exactly question, sorry, no. But just a comment. On the slide that you talk about the universal truth and the inner truth.
Can I come back to it?
Awesome, thank you. it's important that we understand that the universal truth doesn't change, right?
Oh, yeah.
God's
Very good.
laws, they rule the universe. Physical laws, moral laws, biological laws, they rule the universe. What changes is our inner truth. And as we evolve, as in question 115, so we're ignorant, we're given a mission, and as we evolve our inner truth, as we become more conscious, as we awaken our conscience, our inner truth is gonna get closer to the universal truth, to the point that we will be just automatically, simply following the universal laws, because it's just natural, because we know that they are the truth. So
Perfect.
there's no reason why my own personal distorted opinions of the only way I can relax is with a cigarette or with a drink.
Mhm.
That's my inner truth right now because of my unconsciousness. But as I evolve, as I become more aware,
Mhm.
then my truth will become closer to the universal truth.
Just
There you go.
perfect.
That's
Thank you.
really process there.
Yeah. And Renata as well give some spoil about Renzo lecture about the divine
We're all spoilers.
It's not separate.
We're all spoilers.
Thank
It's
you.
all connected.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Manuel was gonna
Very
say
important.
something.
Yes,
I
Manuel,
was just gonna
please.
make a little comment.
Yeah, for sure.
I went through a complicated situation in my life when I was in university.
Uh-huh.
So, but what I did, you gotta change your environment around.
Oh, yeah.
So, then you have to keep modify yourself.
It's like
Part of the
another
effort,
possibility. Yeah, it's part of the effort. Yeah.
But everything you have to know is choose the right friendship.
You need to make good choices. And that is about consciousness. You'll be conscious about what that choice you're going to bring as consequence to my life.
And we are gonna talk about that too, about the environment and how it affects our decision making.
It is
Courage
good.
to step out and.
Yeah, and even the energies you are around,
Yes.
right? We are like antennas, and
Like a radio,
it's like whatever you tune on the radio, that's the station you're gonna get, so.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, I just want to make one last comment too.
Mhm.
Again, we need to make the choice to live differently, right? Sometimes we're not seeing this because we're not lucid or not, but we still, every time that we have a moment of lucidity, we are then able to make choices. The other thing is, the environment, of course, it's important, the people surround us, because they can be good supports, or they can be not good supports and actually influence us,
Mhm.
but we cannot just, we should not say that it's just environment, because
No,
it's
it's one of the
inside of us is our choices, right? But why not make our life easier, should making better choices and choose better friendships for us? That's
For
just
sure.
gonna make us feel better.
If
And
it,
so everyone needs to know what is that would work for themselves too, right?
for sure. If each of us decide to be more conscious,
Yeah.
we are able to change our society. It's each of us doing, the drop of the ocean. The ocean is made with lots of drops. If each of us decide to make a difference, we're going to change our society for better.
Better, yeah.
So,
Thank you so much.
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you very much. So, we're gonna have Victor now.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you
Just pull up my. presentation quick here. Thank you, Sonia, for your presentation.
Thank you, Victor.
And Welcome again, everybody. Glad to see you all here today. And my topic is on opioids awareness in Canada. And we truly believe that awareness is one of the best methods of prevention, and this is a drug prevention, abuse prevention seminar. So awareness is usually where it starts. And the initial reflection that I want to make for this presentation starts with, first, do we know about opioids? What are they? What they can cause? And what is the situation in Canada nowadays with opioids addiction? And then following that, how do I feel about a person that uses drugs? I see them on the street. What do I feel? What do I think? How do I behave? And have we done that reflection already? And then lastly, what's my role? Like Sonia touched on a little bit too. What is my role within society to either help or not? What should I do? So hopefully throughout this presentation, we'll be able to touch on these points here today. And we'll start with opioids. And I don't know if everybody knows, but it comes from the poppy flower, which is where poppy seeds come from. I'm pretty sure we've all had a poppy seed bagel or something like that. So that's where opioids come from, in plants, in nature. Excuse me. And they are pain-relieving drugs. They're used as a painkiller. And they were discovered many, many years ago, 3,400 years ago before Christ, in the lower Mesopotamia. And they're called the whole gill, excuse me, which were deemed the joy plant, which they used many, many years ago because it relieved pain. And it was brought to North America around the 1800s when the Chinese moved to North America during the Golden Rush to build all the railroads that we had in the 1800s. There's a lot of history with opioids before this happened with England and the Chinese. We'll not get into that right now. And then just an FYI, there is a distinction between opiates and opioids. Nowadays, they're all the same group, but just in case somebody's heard of opiates, the only difference that opiates are the opioids that are raised naturally from plants, whereas opioids are chemically or synthetically produced opioids. Now it's all the same, so just to avoid any confusion, nowadays we put them together in all one group. Now, a couple more things about opioids. So besides pain relieving, they're also causing euphoria, that feeling of being high, and they also directly affect the reward feeling in the brain. So it's like the positive reinforcement that our brain is used to. So the minute you take the drug, you feel good, so the brain associates that feeling good with the drug, and then you want to keep doing it. It's a good resource for you to feel good, and it directly affects our brain that way. And it is medically prescribed, especially for acute pain, for long chronic pain, pain from bad surgeries or from accidents, physical pain that we have. It is medically prescribed. There's many different types: codeine, fentanyl, morphine, oxycodone, hydromorphone, medical heroin, and the commercially available names are Vicodin. If any of you know a TV show called House MD, where Dr. Gregory House had his limp on his leg, right? He was a Vicodin addict, so he was using Vicodin to treat that, but relieve that long-term pain that he had on his leg. And oxycodone is also another type that's highly well-known and readily available type of opioid. And they do eventually, especially with long-term use, eventually they do get into a state of addiction, which we'll touch on a little bit more later. So these are the two facts on opioids, and now we're going to bring us to the situation in Canada. How does
Yeah, a comment.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
All right.
Of course, like we know that opioids always seem in a negative perspective, but they were firstly developed on the victim side as well as medication. So there's always a positive utilization for the term, and there's a lot of good things that can do to people when need them. And like during the time of war, I believe everybody watching movies that people need morphine because of injuries and things like that. It helps relieve and save lives at that point. But the bad utilization of those drugs, that's what lead to the problem that we're seeing today, right?
Yeah.
There's always a twist that we put in either positive or negative twist.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we hear a lot of testimonies of how it helped a lot of people because they were in chronic pain.
Yeah.
They couldn't live. They couldn't wake up. They couldn't open their eyes, and morphine and other opioids help them. And it's just a matter of managing it and taking it consciously and having a medical advice, close medical advice to make sure you don't go from being a benefit to being a problem. So Canada-wide, I love numbers. So 2018, we had almost 4,500 deaths due to opioid addiction. The Western provinces, so BC and Alberta, us here, we are the worst ones. BC by far in terms of number and in terms of rates. So for every 100,000 people, more than 20 in BC die every year. And Alberta is a close second, 775. We have a lower.
Third.
Yeah, and third in total numbers, but in terms of rates,
Oh,
there's a lot more people.
Oh, okay,
There's a lot less people there in Alberta. So,
ratio.
yeah, in
Okay.
terms of the ratio, we're the second leading one. And it's roughly 18 people for every 100,000 in our province here. And just to bring this into perspective, Canada-wide, this is about 1 death every 2 hours. So in this seminar here, from 10 to 4, that's about 6 hours. It's about 12 people dying because of,
The other way around.
the other way around. 3 people dying just throughout this workshop due to opioids addiction in Canada.
I don't know if you probably research about this, but as long as I am talking to people, to professionals
Mhm.
and counselors,
Mhm.
I feel right now is the type of support the province gives to people. Because there is a huge lack of support that I have seen lately.
Okay.
Regarding especially to the youth, whereas I see coming from doctors, from child services, from counselors, the advice is they have to discover for themselves.
Okay.
Once they reach the bottom, then they will start searching or seeking for help. And I don't believe it at all. So no wonder why the numbers are so high.
Yeah, I see. I did do a little bit of research. I saw a few initiatives from the government. I think Angela knows a lot more about that than I do. But there has been a few, and actually to address that point specifically, if we look at stats over years, between 2017 and 2018, the rise in deaths because of drug addiction was much lower than from 2016 to 2017. So from 2 years ago till now, we're still seeing more deaths, but that rise has been reducing. So hopefully the government is having some programs out there to help them not only with recovery, but also with awareness. And I'll touch a little bit about that in a few slides. But yeah, you probably have had more experience than I have. But hopefully this number keeps on
And
dropping.
especially, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
especially in high school, because when he was in one of the high schools that he started last year, grade 9, he's seen in the bathroom a boy having an overdose of Xanax. And I talked to one of the moms last week in the same high school. Last week they had 2 overdoses.
Really?
Our church now in Erick is considered one of the worst high school due to the numbers of kids added into it.
Remember we had different overdose, there was 4 kids overdosing.
Yeah, but last week they got a vessel in Toronto for I think it was over $4 billion, and for crystal meth. They sent one, they sold for the Ford dealership.
wow.
They put everything inside a tire,
Okay,
so
yeah,
they got a mistake, but at least they got.
yeah, it is definitely, we call it a crisis that we're going through.
Yes.
And there's many different reasons for that to happen.
And then even when I was talking to the principal, she said there is nothing we can do. They have access, even outside the school, like they are approached by dealers, right? The young dealers that are just surrounding the high
Surrounding
school.
the area.
And then she said one of the kids in grade 10, she said, I never heard about what is Super Nick, but he was in grade 10 when we talked to her in November. And then he couldn't stay more than half an hour without the Super Nick, which is 10 times stronger than the nicotine vapor.
Okay.
And he was in rehab, just to see if he could get treated.
Yeah, no, it is definitely a big crisis in Canada, especially with kids as well. Hopefully we'll see some numbers about that too. And so the hope here is first to raise awareness, and from then on, and spread and somehow try to turn this around. Hopefully we can reach the tipping point where we start to see a drop in that. Because we've seen an increase in the past 2 years, quite drastic. So just a little thing that I didn't think about that I read. By the way, all these stats are from the Canada website, canada.ca. And this one addresses life expectancy that has something to do with chemically related deaths. So from 2000 to 2016, the life expectancy of somebody being born had risen by 3 years. So somebody being born in 2000 would have lived until they were 78. If they were born in 2016, they would have lived until they're 81. So we had a huge spike in life expectancy in Canada. That spike has been slowed down. And one of the attributes to that is substance-related deaths that we're seeing a huge rise in our country. And a lot of numbers here, but I just want to point out to a few things here. This is all the numbers of death-related opioid addictions. So like we saw, 2018 was almost 4,500. That has risen quite a bit since 2016. If you look at percent males, that's 74% that affect. All the drug addicts that die through overdose are 74% are males. When we talk about kids, right, under 17, 2% might seem a low number, but that's 90 per year that die of overdose. It's not that they're overdosing, they actually reach the point of death, right? A lot of them OD, they overdose, but they're still alive. I'll touch more about this later too. But no, these are actual deaths. So it is a huge number to think about. Like they're only 19 or younger. Another one that struck me was 30 to 39. This is the highest incidence with roughly 1,200. But the one that, my reflection on this is that when you're 30 to 39, you're not only people, but you're also parents. Right? So this is what could be 1,200 families being affected by one of their parents dying from.
And if you think about it, it could also be connected to how much money you make. Because for somebody who's young, maybe that number isn't higher just because they don't have enough money
To get it. Yeah.
to
Absolutely.
get a big enough amount
Yeah.
that would lead to death.
Yeah,
So,
but here they do have
yeah,
money, so
if you
it's
think
more
of that
accessible.
age, it's usually the age where you reach success in your career, success,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
But you have
Yeah,
the money to buy,
you
so
make your money.
it's more accessible. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Money-wise.
Another interesting point regarding that is the types of the drugs available, or basically the different ages using different types of drugs. For example, like morphine is more common within health practitioners, people involved with medicine,
Okay.
or either veterinary medicine as well, that have access to that kind of medication.
Oh, yeah.
That's not available on the street, right? It's by selling morphine outside.
Yeah.
But then depending on the people that have access to that based on what they do, basically that's even worse because you know what that causes. You have the knowledge to apply that
You know
to help other people, so you know what you're doing yourself.
You can't claim ignorance because you know exactly what.
I'm gonna mention fentanyl.
Yes, that's my last
Okay.
box. You got it. So fentanyl is one of the opioids that we talked about that I showed you guys. And you can see there's a huge rise in deaths involving fentanyl only. In Canada, 70% of all the deaths, they had fentanyl. In Alberta, that number is higher. It was around 84 to 88% just in 2018. So it is, yeah, go ahead.
Just, sorry for interrupting.
No,
Do
not at all.
you know why, like, from 2016 to 2018, it's 2%, 1% for like 7-year-olds, and in 2017, just spikes up lots of old people.
That's a very good question. No, like that actually I didn't notice that. I can tell you why that is, but it's certainly something worth investigating. If there was a huge spike, as you said, with, amongst the elderly.
I would say, I don't know, I would say for the popularity of the drug, how it became popular, right?
Yeah.
And it's cheap and it became cheaper and
And more
people have access to it.
access to it. That's what I see. And even I can talk about my sister, even with morphine, my sister had a major accident where she had to put like 10 screws on her ankle when she fell 3 years ago, and the doctor had to cut off her morphine because she was becoming addicted.
Okay.
Just to cope with the pain, He said, no more morphine for you, for becoming addicted.
It was a good catch.
Yeah, that was the popularity started about 2017. I recall to read a paper about that.
Yeah.
And about people buying a fentanyl
Mhm.
from people that were like had a prescription of fentanyl, and they had the patches that they put on their skin to relieve the pain. So they would open up with the patch on the leg, the corner of the patch, so they could try to get as much as they could out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
very sad to observe the behavior.
Mhm. Yeah, from 2016 to 2017, that's where we saw the biggest rise, right, 36%.
Another thing, Calvin, that it could be connected is not only how more easily available it is, but for example, last year when we did the workshop on suicide, you can see that the percentage of suicide in mainly males, 65 and above, is very high. Because at a certain age, some people, the inner emptiness that Sonia was talking about, they get to a point where they feel empty inside and they feel they don't have anything else to live for. So that spike could also be related to an unreported suicide, something that looks like an accidental overdose, but it was on purpose. So that's another possibility. Can't state that it is, but it's a possibility.
It is, yeah.
But even just,
Good indication.
also just a way to try to fulfill that emptiness.
Yes.
I think a very important point about the need of those drugs, in my perception, is the need of the youth or young adults to seek for the adrenaline, excitement, feel invincible, nothing is gonna happen to me, or just feel the thrill in some very dangerous actions that causes this spike of
It's
the
depressing.
need for drug and depression too.
Yeah,
It's a big one.
A lot of it's due
Yeah.
to stuff like social media.
as well, you can get into a rabbit hole pretty quick. Social media, and we'll actually talk about what would drive depression in just a little bit. I think Anna will touch more about that.
So no expectations for this.
And
Mostly a resume of everything.
then just a few points on fentanyl because it's so prominent. So it's 20 to 40% more potent than heroin, and 100% more potent than morphine. And that's why there's such a risk of accidental overdose, because a few grains of salt, like just the amount of 4 grains of salt is enough to kill an average adult. So it's really, really powerful and really easy to miss, especially because it's odorless and tasteless. So you might even know you're having it. You might even know that's within other drugs that you're taking. And that's why they actually mix it with heroin and cocaine, because that's a huge boost for it. So it's cheaper to do. To make it heroin more effective or cocaine more effective, they can just add a little grain of fentanyl, and that will highly increase the effectiveness that they're looking for. Yeah.
It's 2 grains of salt.
Oh, 2 grains of salt. Oh, even worse. So thank you for that. Yeah.
And, you know, that like that was used in concentration.
Yeah.
That was used for elephants.
Just what?
Elephants,
Oh, in Halifax.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's why the concentration is so high,
Okay.
because otherwise you have to have a liter of something to be
Okay.
complete, right?
Mhm.
So that's why they have like such a high concentration. So it was used for elephants, for instance.
Oh,
That's why you can use it, so that's why the concentration is high.
That's really
Because you have to use a lesser volume,
Okay.
because the low concentration, you have to use a lot of volume.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No,
Yeah. Really?
no.
Oh.
I worked with one girl and her cousin 2 years ago died of overdose because she bought a weed from a supplier and was laced with fentanyl. And she used to buy from the same person.
Okay.
That was
Yeah. When you get into the illegal market, it gets really tough. And even the pills that the doctors prescribe, they've been creating counterfeit pills with fentanyl again just to make that. I'm really happy to see how much you guys know. It means that the awareness is actually kicking in and people are getting more and more
I've
knowledgeable
had like
about this.
10 presentations on fentanyl.
Okay.
Opioids this year.
Okay, good. And you absorb from it and you know it. I'm really happy to see that.
Next year you're doing for us.
It's so interesting that the police, they go to the high schools to give their presentation, and even though they know about the risks and danger of this drug, they seem that they don't.
Well, it's not necessarily that, right? It's because the police know that cheaper drugs like weed, cocaine, they can't be stopped because there's so much of it, but they do want to spread awareness of big things like this that are more likely to cause deaths.
Yeah.
So they put
They're
most
more
of their
dangerous.
focus on that.
And there's always 2 sides. One of them is knowing about having awareness of availability and what it can do to you. The second one is the root cause, what's driving the person to take it, right? So you have to address both.
And
One
we're
is the
gonna
moral
Talk
side.
a little bit about that
Exactly.
too in the next one after lunch.
Oh, perfect. There you go. And yeah, just the latest one is unintentional exposure to pure fentanyl is also an issue. Like Guy said, one of the ways that's sold is on patches because just through absorption on the skin, it can reach you. So if you happen to have it on your skin, make sure you don't wipe it with those hand sanitizers because alcohol can actually increase absorption through your skin. So if you do happen to have that powder, blow it off. Don't put alcohol and try to clean it. Yeah, because it'll actually increase the rate of absorption
But
through
a
your
lot of
skin.
this fentanyl that is available on the ground, those
It's
are
not-
made on like unlicensed labs, right?
Yeah.
Of course, it's like
It's all illegal.
it's more likely to kill you because they have stuff like
Exactly.
bleach.
That's a house, just got exploded.
Like house.
Just recently,
Yeah.
like a couple of months ago,
Breathing
there was a
house.
really big house in
Yeah.
Calgary that got taken down because they were making their own stuff.
Really. And actually, I'll touch on in a couple slides about the next slide about Calgary. So while in Alberta, so if we draw down to our province, in the last 3 years, we had close to 1,600 deaths with opioids-related addiction. And if you look at Calgary, in 2 years, from Q1 2016 to Q1 2018, so that's only 2 years, this is how much it has. It's almost tripled in Calgary when the population has it, right? So, like Colin was saying, this houses fentanyl. This is one of the things that affect our city. So it drives it really close to home. This is just our area here. And that equates to 2 deaths every day, just in our province here. So it is quite a staggering number to see. And it is in the rise, but hopefully.
That's just in Calgary, 2 deaths a day.
No, this is Alberta
Oh.
as a whole. Yeah. So Calgary would be half of that, almost
Yeah.
1 death a day.
Jeez.
I was gonna say, that was.
Quite concerning. And one thing that I didn't know, I was quite shocked to see, that newborns are actually affected by drugs. If their moms are addicts while they're pregnant. And, yeah, exactly. They suffer withdrawals.
Yes.
And in Alberta, this is from Alberta Health, in 2013, there was 141 newborns that had to be hospitalized right after birth because they're suffering from withdrawals. So they start crying, they won't stop crying. You can feed, you can change, you can try to put them to sleep. That's not what they need. They need the drug. They're addicts already because they're suffering through withdrawals. And in 2017, that number actually almost doubled to 246. That's almost 5 births for every 1,000 births.
So basically, the expectation of life of this baby will be really short.
Oh, absolutely. And they'll have to go through a
And
lot
the
of
life
treatment.
struggles, right?
Yeah, they're gonna go through like, or if you thought you had a hard life as a child, these babies are gonna go through like much more.
Well, yeah, because they were born addicts, depending on how intense that was, right? So it wasn't even their choice to go and take the drug and become an addict. They were just born that way. So
And even after they overcome, one single use later in adolescence can just bring everything
bring
back.
everything.
Yeah, they're much more prone to addiction.
Yes.
It's not even genetics. It's something that it's already onset. Like it's already
It's
That's a great
Yeah.
example of how our actions
Affect others.
affect others.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about addiction. And so endorphins, they're endogenous opioids in our bodies. So endogenous means it's just in our bodies. So we produce these endorphins. We produce opioids. Our brain produces it, and it works in our brains, in our spinal cords, in our nerve endings. And but we don't get addicted to it. They're minor releases because, again, it's our inner bodies, and it knows how much we need. And for us to understand this, it's the lack of pain or that feeling of excitement or feeling good, usually after exercising. This is the one that people can relate to the most. After you go for a long jog or you exercise a lot, you feel really good. That's what it is. It's actually opioids, right? So we know that it makes us feel good. That's why you start going to the gym every day for a week. You actually want to go again. Right? Because you want that feeling.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll push that to 12 months.
I guess we're not addicted to
see that like 5 in the morning, people like
Exactly. Exactly.
Never
Right?
mind 5 in the morning,
Yes,
mine
we
is
do it.
40.
They almost can't help it because they want this, right? This one is a healthy one that's promoting exercise, right? And it is from our body. The issue comes when we look at external opioids, right? And they are very effective painkillers because they prevent the pain message from getting to the brain. And they have so many ways of doing that because they can hit our nerve ending, they can hit our spinal cord and our brain. So there's many different ways you can stop that pain message from getting to our brain. Right? The issue is that long-term use causes tolerance. Science still doesn't know the technical or what really happens to cause that tolerance, but if you're taking it for too long, the effectiveness lowers. So that drug is no longer that effective. So my pain is not going away anymore, even though I'm taking it, so I need to take more and more. And that's when we get into this rabbit hole and you start overdosing. Yeah, please.
Well, sometimes like some drugs, it isn't even tolerance, right? Drugs like meth and heroin, the way they work is they produce in like lots of dopamine, more dopamine than you're ever going to produce ever in your life. Even if you use that drug again, it doesn't matter which amount, you're never going to get that much dopamine ever. So you can use this drug once at 20 years old, and you're going to have the best time of your life. And then once you're 80, you can use it again, and it's not going to be the same. So that's why people want to use more. They don't realize that it's never going to be the same. You think that if they use more, it's going to be the same as that first time.
Yeah, it's going to be the same. Yeah. Never is. You get desensitized. And just a little bit about on overdose. So opioids, they actually affect our respiratory control in our brains, causing what they call respiratory depression, which is overdose. And eventually, depending on how intense that overdose is, or if you've had overdoses for too many times, you can eventually die. And just a little bit more on this, it actually, our body has a lot of CO2 sensors, so it senses how much CO2 we have, and that's what pushes us to breathe. So we inhale O2 and then we exhale CO2 because CO2 is toxic. So we have sensors of CO2 in our bodies. Opioids, they mess up with that sensor. So our bodies, our brain doesn't think we need to breathe. It doesn't see that CO2 anymore. and then you stop breathing, and then you OD, and then you overdose. And that's why a lot of people overdose, but they're still alive, they're still revived, because eventually their brain kicks in, realizes, oh, I have too much CO2, and kicks in another breath, right? And then it revives them again. So that's why overdose doesn't kill you right away, but eventually it can. And in terms of, oh yeah, I wanted to show this graph here. This is quite intense too when I saw it. So this was a study done in 2017 on recovering addicts. I have to explain this a little bit. This, when it talks about drugs, this is all drugs, including alcohol, including marijuana, including opioids. I couldn't find one just for opioids. And all of the interviewed addicts, they were recovering, and they interviewed 855. So in blue here is the first use of either alcohol or marijuana or opioids. And you can see here the first use was highest between 13 and 15 years of those recovering addicts. This is the age when they first used it. When you look at addiction, they were addicts already at the age of 16 and 19. Those are the two highest instances. So just to bring home how quick this can happen, especially for teenagers, and we were just talking about how in schools that also happens as well. So these are all recovering.
So that thing isn't back in the 80s and the 70s, it wasn't like that. So like when it was in the 70s, 15 years old, you're still a kid. Never.
Excuse me. Yeah,
This is like what, 2000?
2017.
Oh.
This was a study done in 2017.
What did you say about 18?
No, it's like back in the
85?
70s. It's 70s, the 80s, Beatles.
Oh, I had, like, when I was in my grade 7 and 8 and 9, back home, we had, like, boys addict in my classroom.
What, okay?
I don't know what it was, but they were addicts. Because they were in big trouble in school and they were leaving very
The only
often.
thing I heard about it was cocaine.
And one of them was the
Yeah,
greatest.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think now we have more
Yeah.
available, right? It's a lot easier to get to.
But this was
There's so many different
2017.
Yeah, it was. I'll touch on a little bit more on this research and the body that did this research later on. But yeah, this was a study done with recovering addicts, so they are already in the recovering stage. 855 of them, with a big spread of ages and provinces around Canada. And the last one that I want to touch on for awareness is immediate help. There's many different things that the government's doing. First one is a drug or medicine called naloxone, which is deemed the Lazarus drug, which is used to revive somebody in overdose. So this can revive somebody in overdose in the split of a minute. It brings that breath back on, and the person revives. It's really important to know that just like an EpiPen, this drug only lasts for like 90 minutes. So if the person has OD'd, it has been revived with this, it still has to go to the hospital to administer that opioid, because the opioid acts for much longer than this drug can act. So if you don't do anything about this person who's been revived after 90 minutes, they can overdose again because the opioid is still running through their system. So it's kind of like an EpiPen, right? It's only good for a few minutes. Still have to go to the hospital. And this is something I didn't know. The government passed an act a few years ago. It's called the Good Samaritan Drug Overdose Act, which talks about everybody that's around a person that's overdosing and trying to help. They won't be prosecuted. They won't go to jail. This is with the intent of encouraging people that if they see somebody overdose, you can go and help. You're not going to be in trouble. Because a lot of times when people are doing drugs and they're overdosing, they're doing it with friends. Their friends see somebody's overdosed, they run away because they don't want to get in trouble, right? This act is showing that you're not going to be in trouble from a legal perspective. Go and help, right? So this is the immediate help that I wanted to touch on. And hopefully we had a good conversation on data and facts and awareness. So now I want to bring this a little bit towards what can we do about it, right? And a lot of us, including myself, you want to help as much as you can. But the first reflection I want to get to is, can we change it? we can't. Right, that's the one thing we can't change. We can't, no. The one thing that we can change is us, right? So the first reflection here is start internally and asking ourselves, how do I feel when I see an addict on the street? Do I feel fear?
Whiteboard.
Oh, yes. Yes, this is the end goal. I'll start with what sometimes happens more often than this. Fear, discrimination, pity, the judgments, the stereotyping, the profiling, right? And something that really touched me was in our center here, we have in our mediumship group, we have weekly meetings where we bring spirits and we clarify and enlighten these spirits that are coming through us, seeking for help. And this one day, a drug addict came. And the amount of emotion that was passed on when we started talking to him, the amount of gratitude, the amount of happiness, and the sense of belonging that came with this spirit when we started talking to him was really touching. And he said afterwards that towards the end, nobody would talk to him. The feeling of indifference was huge. So all he needed was somebody to talk to him, right? To hear a word. And that's why as soon as he came, we started talking to him, his emotions just flourished. Because all he needed was a word. He didn't need anything else. He just needed to know that he belonged, that he was a human being like anybody else. So then I see homeless every time I walk to work every day. So it made me question myself, and well, maybe now I should talk to them, and if they look at me, I'll talk. And this is how I'll start with my changes, and also always looking at love, compassion, and respect towards them. We know that externally now, after you've gone internally, we can practice the law of love, just in charity towards ourselves and towards them. This is usually the goal that we're trying to achieve. But also reminding ourselves that we're not here to save anybody. We're not a savior. We had a savior, and we're here to show them the savior, help them understand all the good that can come from what Jesus has taught us. Because we know that through the love that Jesus teaches us, we can transform our feelings into virtues. Right? And when we're dealing with whether or not to help, right, we can go from indifference, which is where we don't even see them on the street, or we can go to the other spectrum, which is interference. We're actually interfering with their lives. We're affecting their free will. So it's somewhere in between, right? This is very personal. It's everybody has to go through this to understand how they should help and how they should deal with drug addicts. And the funnel here is what we usually go through. So if you think about doing something, ask yourself, is this loving towards myself and to the person I'm trying to help? Is this charitable to myself and the person? And is this just to myself and the person, right? If you answer yes to all of them, then yeah, that's what you should do. So this helped quite a bit understand how to behave and how to help them. And charity is usually the one that I struggled with the most. I can't feel charity, so it was hard to understand whether or not I'm being charitable or is it just pride? Like, where do I sit? And if you go to the Spirit's book that Sonia talked about quite a bit, on question 886, the question is, what is the true meaning of the word charity as seen by Jesus? And the answer was benevolence for everybody, indulgence towards the imperfections of others, and forgiveness of offenses. So the one here that's really important is indulgence towards the imperfections of others. And if you go to the Gospel according to Spiritism, there's a section on indulgence. And it talks about being indulgent with regards to the faults of others, whatever these may be. Do not judge with severity any actions but your own. And it's really good to understand where they're coming from or why they've become addicts. This helps us being indulgent to them. And it usually comes with, they're trying to seek serenity. They're usually anxious about something and they're trying to seek serenity. So what they're trying to do here is change a feeling to a virtue, trying to change anxiety to serenity. This is exactly what we're all trying to do. Right? We're all trying to develop our virtues, right? Transform our feelings into virtues. Unfortunately, they chose chemicals to do that. And you can't transform a feeling into a virtue by using chemicals. We know that you have to work and evolve morally to finally change this feeling, but they chose a different way. But they're still seeking for the same thing. And if we go even deeper about the reason why most of them do it, it's a desire of belonging to the universe. It's a desire of belonging that we all have in a certain level. And it's through understanding who we are, accepting who we are right now, not who we used to be or who we want to be. Accepting who we are with our virtues and our faults, right? And from then, understanding that we're apprentices of life. Sons, immortal spirits, and sons of God. We're here to learn, we're here to improve ourselves, but first we have to accept who we are, right? And then we try and not resort to chemicals to help, but we try to resort to moral factors and churches or friends or anything that can help you build that base up to transform a feeling into a virtue and not try to take a shortcut that won't work. And we have this notion which is very materialistic and it's very true. Once an addict, always an addict is a physiological thing, right? Once you become an addict, you stop and you have that drug again, it will bring back a lot of memories. But it's a very materialistic view, right? So you're only thinking about your body here. When we bring the notion of immortal spirit, when we bring the notion that, like Sonia mentioned a lot of times, we have multiple lives, we're not an addict forever. We're not sick forever, right? Because if we were sick forever, God would have failed us, right? Because like Sonia mentioned, he created us as immortal spirits, right? And like Sonia mentioned, the goal in question 115, right? Were we created equal, or we created good or evil? And part of the answer is they will achieve pure and eternal happiness. So we were created to achieve pure and eternal happiness. So we can't achieve this if we're sick for eternity. So it is a transitory thing. It's just something that will pass. Right? And by knowing this, we can connect and move from being just a materialistic view person to an immortal spirit, knowing that this will pass. Eventually, we have to work. It's not easy, but it's not hard. It's something that takes work. It takes. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about recovery very quick, as just a statistic. And so this is the study from 2017 that we talked about the age of first-time users and addicts. So this was done by the Canadian Centre of Substance Use and Addiction in Ottawa. It's not a government entity, but the government uses them to get research, to create laws and acts. And so this was done in 2017. It was a recovery study. Like I said, it was 855 people, recovering addicts surveyed. And I was really happy to see that actually when Manuel talked about relationships and friends, this was the highest ranking ones that they talked about that helped them through recovery. And these are all the support systems. So it's not their main program that's driving them to do this. This is all their support systems. So like Manuel said, it was relationships with friends, their family, and then religion and spirituality is the third highest ranking one. So it is really important to help them recover. And last slide here, just a couple testimonies that I read that I found really interesting. So one was Chelsea. It goes like this. She tried to take her own life by intentionally overdosing on multiple drugs. So she was trying to go for suicide. But it didn't work. She woke up alone and cold in her car and did not have the will to go on. She then turned herself into the police and went to treatment. Now she has been a recovering addict for more than 3 years and she's doing fine. Right, so she hit rock bottom, but she was able to recover. The second one was Brenda, who discovered she was 4 weeks pregnant. And she said, part of me wanted to keep using, but more of me wanted to stop. So thanks to the help of her family, especially her stepfather, she was able to get into treatment program for pregnant women and to detox. And now she's been sober or detoxing, or sorry, she's been recovering for 2 years and she has a healthy baby. So there are many stories of hope that we can resort to help. We know some fail, but a lot of them also succeed. And recovering, like you said, it is a lifetime thing. So the support systems, our families, our churches, our religion, friends, they can truly help us. And I want to end this like Sonia did, saying that I can do all things through him who gives me strength. So if we know that, we can hopefully help them and themselves can help also get out of this. So thank you very much. And I think now we have some kids coming.
Yeah, just because
Yes.
they are younger, I just don't think it's gonna be the play that we were thinking.
Okay.
Because I don't think the age group would be able to achieve that much.
Okay.
Thank you very
They might have a song for us or something.
And I really appreciate your guys'
Thank you very much.
discussion. It was really
That was
enlightening.
very informative.
I'm really happy to see how aware we all are.
I think I don't need to do my presentation.
Thank
It's
you.
all part.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, they are gonna do,
Yeah, there's one to be-
they all, right? Why didn't she? I think while the kids get ready. It's mine.
how was school today? We're gonna have school because Sunday, right? Look, someone is hurt here. Something is wrong. Hey, are you okay? Is there any problem? I don't think we can help this way, so let's call 911. Hello?
Hello,
Is 911?
911.
I think there is someone hurt here.
I think there is someone hurt here.
I think he's having an overdose.
I think he's having an overdose.
Can you come please quick?
Can come here.
Okay, I will stay here.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll stay here. Thank you.
Okay, Sophie. Look at him, please. Try to help him. Let's take this away from here. Oh, help has arrived. He will be fine now.
If you take drugs or have some on you, the goods from American law can protect you. It's important to stay until help arrives. The government of Canada is taking action. Together we can help save lives. A message from the government of Canada.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so now we'll move the chairs and we'll serve some lunch.
What's your name?
You guys are doing okay?
What are we